Good evening, everyone. It's Debra Hamilton, and this is the MAAP Community Call. I'm so glad some of you are starting to come in. I'm sure many more will come in. It has been such a whirlwind year. This is my second year of doing this program every Wednesday night at 6:30. I'm going to check in with everyone to see how they're doing, how they're getting on with their plans. It was wonderful this week that I received about 25 responses to my notice to let people know that this call is happening today. And most of them said they had started to do something, yay, thank you, and that they wanted to know different things about what they are to do once they're finished with the MAAP plan. So it's a program where you learn how to plan for the care of your pets, not only in your will, which is only one way to plan for your pets, but also in what we call we're up to 10 Ds, and I hope I can remember them all, because death is only one reason why your pets may need care. And then, of course, you're not going to be there. So hopefully you've all made a plan in writing that will care for your pets. But if you're disabled, or if you have a disease, if you're delayed by airplanes, all of us have been, if you suffer from dementia, if you have disasters happen, these are the things that you have to plan for your pet's care for. And I know that most of us don't really think about the care of our pets if something happens to us, because we are always going to be able to take care of our pets. And if you've been here before, you know that the reason this plan got started was because I thought that way completely until 2013, when I broke my ankle and couldn't take care of my 9 dogs. That was a little bit of a problem. So I decided to put this plan together and help other people make the plan for their pets, because it's so important to get it down on paper. So I'm going to check in with everybody that I see on the screen. I'm going to ask you where you're from, unless I already know, and then I'll just tell you where you're from, and see why you're here and the names of your animals. I try to remember everyone's animal. I'm sort of pretty good, but not always. I'm going to check in with Jan first. How's Tonka?
Tonka's really good. I'm actually pet sitting, so
I know I see snow out the window. Oh, look at the baby.
Yeah, this is Rue.
Hi, Rue.
And Charlie's around somewhere. He's a dachshund.
Oh, we love dachshunds. I had dachshunds. So great, wonderful. Great to see you, Jan. Hope you had a very happy holiday weekend or week, whatever holiday you celebrated. I hope it was wonderful with family or friends, or with your furry friends, which is always important as well. So good to see you, Jan. Hey, Susan, how are you? How's Maggie doing?
You know, Maggie's doing okay. She's up to her usual tricks, and I'm kind of anxious because I'm getting her ready to go to training next Tuesday. So she's going to be gone for 3 weeks, and I'm apprehensive.
I know. It is very scary to send her for training. Ask, of course, you probably already have done this, but ask if you can check in several times during the week, so that you know how she's doing, and get pictures, because that's always fun. That should be part of it, because you're not disturbing the training, but you at least see, how she's doing and everything else. That would be something to ask for. I know that you had said that you had gotten a contract, so I'm hoping that you had someone look at it so that you know that everything is copacetic.
Yeah, no, I didn't have someone look at it, but I kind of felt it was a little too late to
It's never too late to say, wait a minute, and have somebody look at it. And I'm not an attorney in Virginia, so my looking at it would be for information, not for advice. So it would be good to be able to make sure that everything is in place. The only thing I would really strongly recommend is, if you're sending her to training, make sure that you know what happens if something happens to her. Know who the vet is, know what the responsibilities are for payment if she has to go to the vet. Whoops, my dog's piping up and barking. My apologies. So anyway, that's what I would do. And I'm more than, happy to help you later on, maybe tomorrow, and we can chat about it because it really is important to make sure that everything is sort of in line for good old Maggie to go and get some one-on-one training with a really good trainer.
Can I send you a copy of the contract?
Absolutely. You can do that and I'll look at it. It'll be information, not advice. And we'll see if I have a friend in Virginia who can look at it. Kayleen, how are the puppies?
Hello, puppies are good. They will be 12 weeks old in a couple of days, and they're doing good. We're working on getting on the table and stacking on the table and leash walking and not eating our socks and not eating remote controls and not eating our shoes, but we're having fun.
Yeah, 12 weeks. That's sort of the turning point. And now they eat a lot and they leave a lot of refuse behind, as they say.
Yes.
So yeah, good luck. So Kaylina has beagle puppies who are the sweetest little things we've ever seen. And we saw them when they were little loads. So now we're really thrilled to know that they're up and getting around and being naughty. Really warms my heart that, several people are regulars here on the recording. They're here with us. We're bringing up questions that people are interested in. They keep, really hey, Jan, how are you? You unmuted yourself.
Yes, I finally found the button. Sorry about that.
No worries. So tell us where you're from and who your babies are.
I'm from northern Vermont, and for the first time in like 53 years, I'm down to only one Irish setter and one cat.
Wow, how great. I know I'm down to one Irish setter too. It's like it's like sort of it's like one Lay's potato chip. You can't just have just one.
Right.
It's definitely different, right? It's definitely different having one than a pack. And they get very spoiled.
Oh yeah, she's very spoiled.
Yeah. I know that Junie is more spoiled than any dog I have ever had because he's been an only dog almost his entire life. So he's naughtier than anyone. So I'm so glad you're here. And if you have any questions, we're going to check in about 5 or 10 minutes with anybody who has questions. But what I'd like to do is just share with you some of the questions that were brought up by people who listen to the recordings of this program. Rose and I always say we are so thrilled that so many people take the time to listen to the recording because of course we can tell because it's important to make this plan. So a few of the recurring questions were, how many times do you have to check in, or what do you do to update it, or do you have to update it? And I'm going to have a workshop in February, probably the first weekend of February, if I can swing it. So I'll keep you all posted. But what you want to do is if you've made your plan, you can attend and update your plan. If you've never made a plan, then you can attend and make the plan, because it's so hard to decide what it is that you need to write down for the care of your pets. And making that plan, which is the M, is the hardest thing to do because you want to share what it is you want done with your pets. What is it that you want done? And if you're going to check in with people, you need to check in. I always say at a minimum, you check in every year. So maybe right after the new year, if you've written your MAAP plan and it's been a year since you've written it. And even if it hasn't been a year, it's sort of like the batteries on your fire alarm in your ceiling. You change those New Year's Eve, you change those New Year's Day. Everybody always does it. You have a certain time. So I always say, if you've written a MAAP plan, make sure you have a holiday that gets you to look at it again, because there are two things you need to absolutely update in your MAAP plan, and that's your caregivers. You have to check in with everyone every year. I don't care if you just saw them. Just say, listen, I'm checking in, Jan. Want to know if you can still take Junie, and if there's anything that's an issue. Now, Jan might have gotten a cat, and we just had my son's cat, Jane, here for the holidays. And it was a bit of a struggle. Not struggle is probably the wrong word. It was a little bit of a musical chairs because Junie is not a cat lover. likely because of all the feral cats he got to meet on our walks in Beaufort, North Carolina. So he's not a cat fan, and Jane is a cat. So she would come down and walk around the house, and Junie would be out in the kennel. And then when Junie was in the house, Jane was up in my son's bedroom. So these are things that you'd have to know. And if Jan gets a cat, well, then she has to say to me, well, Deborah, I got a cat. And I'll go, okay, that's fine. I don't know that Junie could be a long time visitor with you because it would drive you nuts to have to separate them. So every year you have to check with your caregivers. I can't stress it enough. And people say, but Jan doesn't change her life. She doesn't do anything differently. And I'm like, I just think you've always got to give them the courtesy of letting them know you still have them on your list. These are the things that are going on for your pet. And are they still willing to take them short term or long term? Really, really, really important, because the other piece that you have to do every year is you have to update your care for your pet. So when they're puppies like Kilina, and you have to keep them from eating socks and eating the remote controller, that's one thing. And then when they get to be 2 or 3, maybe they're little escape artists. Maybe they can climb over a fence and get out. You have to let people know that. Or if they're really well trained and love to do all sorts of scent work or something, let them know that, because that's something that'll keep them stimulated. If you have to feed them with a puzzle bowl because they eat too fast, you need to let people know that. And you don't know that from year to year. And then, of course, as they get older, Sally's not here with us tonight. She had a dinner to go to. I don't know how she could have a dinner to go to right before the new year and not be here. I'm only kidding. We love Sally, and she has Athena and Roxy. And Athena just went into season again. And so she stopped eating. And of course, that's a worry. So you really want to make sure that you talk to people about older dogs who have different issues when they come into season, or when they, don't like food more than a week at a time. These are things you have to let people know. So when you make the MAAP plan, you have to really take your time, and this is what we'll do in February, take your time to decide what it is you really want to have for the care of your pets. You might not be there short term. So that's if you have a disease, or you have a broken bone, or you have any number of things that could happen. You could be delayed, you could be deployed. These are all things that could happen that would separate you from your pet for a short period of time, a week, a month, a year. There was just a post on Facebook from a friend of mine, Janet Hoy-Gerlich, where she pointed out that a nurse took a dog out of a shelter where a gentleman who was hospitalized, where his dog had gone. They had given the dog to a shelter because no one in his family could take the dog. And the nurse went and adopted the dog and kept it for the year that he was in the hospital, and then rehab and everything that goes with the surgery and the recovery he had. And he was thrilled that she gave him the dog back at the end of his trajectory with his medical issues. Well, it's sort of like the Subaru dogs. I tell veterinarians all the time that they have to be really nice to their clients, because only the Subaru dogs arrive by car without a human. Every other dog arrives with a human, and really you have to take the humans into account when you're dealing with the pets. But for us, we really need to make sure that we care for our pets short-term and long-term. Things happen. We get involved in car accidents. Our dogs are with us or they're not with us. What are you going to do? Do you have a note in your car that says, in case of emergency, call this person, this person, this person to take my dogs? And then if you list these 3 people, so I would list my husband and my neighbor and my co-owners as people who would be right there to get my dogs. Well, beside putting it in your home, visible for people to see, and in your car, visible for people to see, you have to make sure that the people who you are appointing have a note that says, these dogs can be released to me. Because if you have people who are your caregivers and you have the MAAP plan, they can bring the MAAP plan to Animal Care and Control and show people that they are listed as one of the people who can care for your pet. But a sheet of paper that says it as well is very easy too. This dog can be released, this cat can be released, this bird, this lizard, this snake, whatever it is you have, this horse can be released to Debra Hamilton or Susie Smith or Jenny Jones, because you want to be able to get it out of animal care and control. And unless you have that in writing with the person's name, it often is very difficult to get your dog out of animal care and control. If if your animals are taken from your car, if you have a car accident. So it's just really good care for your pets when you're making a plan, to not just think about what's going to happen to them when you're dead. As this man in the hospital for a year learned, having someone care for his pet for that year so that he could get that pet back was an enormous relief for him. There was a great picture of him hugging the dog with the nurse nearby. Just an enormous, valuable service. However, we all are not going to run into nurses who are going to go and adopt our pets from the shelter, especially if you have more than one. So you really need to make sure you have people lined up. So you have to make that plan. You have to decide what the care is. You have to appoint caregivers, and only one can be a family member. I always say this because if you're sick or if your family member is sick, then you're going to want additional help that's outside that loop, because they're going to be able to care for your pets while you're caring for your loved one, or while your loved one is caring for you. And they are going to be so grateful you had backup, because then they can really spend time with you and be with you. Again, always update and always write down how to care for the pets. Now, Kaylina is talking about making sure they don't eat socks. That's a sure surgical event, or in a remote. I have somebody who doesn't eat anything, but definitely loves to run back and forth and get things in his coat. So you really have to get things out of his feet and out of his coat, because he gets all sorts of stickers. These are things you have to let them know. And then finally, the P of the MAAP stands for, so we have make a plan, appoint caregivers, address the needs of your pet, and of course, publish it. Which means, so this was the other question that was often asked today. It was amazing. It was like, do I have to renew it? When do I have to renew it? How often do I have to renew it? And who do I have to tell? And who do I give it to? So you have to give it to your caregivers, because they have to be able to get your dogs in the event the dogs are not at your house. You have to give it to your attorney so he knows who the caregivers are as well. So if he's alerted, he can make sure he alerts them, or that he knows who they are, so he can reimburse them, or she can reimburse them. Your veterinarian, they have to know who it is that you have given the opportunity to care for the pet, because if your pet is ill, you have the veterinary client-patient relationship with the veterinarian, not your caregiver. So on the file at the vets, it has to say, in the event of an emergency, I give permission for Jenny Jones and Mary Smith and Sue Baker to take my pets to the vet. Really, really, really important. And if you don't have this written down, and it often drives me sort of nuts, and Rose knows I have to talk myself off the ledge, and Jan sort of knows, and Kaylina and Susan sort of know, talk myself off the ledge when people say, I've got it in my will, I'm all set. And I am a little flippant, and I apologize that this last one for the year that I'm going to be flippant again. I always say to people who say, oh, everything's in my will, I go, I'm glad you know you're going to die. Because if you don't die, your dogs are not going to be cared for in the way you want, because all of your plans only come to fruition if you die, if you have a stroke, if you suffer with dementia, if you have a disease that's taking everything out of you, if you're unconscious. The plans you make for your pet in your will don't come to fruition. So you really need to make sure that whatever plans you're making live both when you live and live when you die. So that's why you need a pet trust, and in the pet trust, you want to place the designation of the MAAP plan, because most attorneys will work with me to put the MAAP plan in your will and in your pet trust, so that everything can come to fruition when needed, as opposed to only when you're dead. it's important to have the MAP plan because otherwise, so Jan said she only has one dog, and I know that Jan Jeremiah has only one dog. Kaylina has a bunch of puppies. Susan has Maggie. So you all have only one dog. But if you have several dogs, it is important to know that you are the person, and these are the other people who are able to take your pets. And if you don't delineate that, it gets really difficult to find caregivers for your pets that people know. So you want to make sure that it is always something that is easy to access and easy to implement. So easy access, easy implementation. So Jan Sander, when you get off the call tonight, unless you've already done it, I would love for you, and I know Kaylina, I hope you've done it. Susan, I hope you've done it. I know Jan's done it. And hopefully, Jan, while you are babysitting or dog sitting, you advise them to do it as well, unless they've already done it, because you're such a great supporter of the MAP plan. Get a 3x5 card, put it up somewhere very visible on the door. And if you don't want to put people's numbers on a 3x5 card, just put a note saying, in case of an emergency, leave the dogs in the house. There is a yellow file, red file, green file, blue file next to the refrigerator, next to the stove, on the counter, by the cookie jar, where someplace that you really can identify so they can find it. And in that file will be the names and telephone numbers of the people who are your caregivers. So they are right there. And if you co-own your dogs with someone, you have to put that down as well, because a lot of us sign contracts that say, in case of an emergency, if you can't care for the dog, I take the dog back. Well, that's great. But if they live in Oregon and you live in Colorado, that's going to be a little bit of a distance. So you need someone close by to care for the pets as well. So we always, in this group, and if you've listened to this talk ever, we talk about the nosy neighbor who knows exactly what it is that's supposed to happen to the dogs if something happens to you, which is leave them there, because you have these people lined up to come and care for them short-term, long-term. So with my dogs, I have dogs in Ohio, I have dogs in Maryland. All of my owners know that I drop everything and go, but it may take me 24 hours to get there. So they have what we call the nosy neighbor, or the nearby neighbor, who can let the dogs in and out, give them cookies if they don't want to feed them, because nobody is really going to die in 24 hours if they don't have a meal. But water is important. You'd love for them to know how to take care of the pet, but we really want somebody to sustain them. And then the caregivers come to take care of them. So the nosy neighbor is the first on the scene to say, no, leave the dogs there. And then they also augment calling the person who's on your list. So now I've given you an overview of the MAP again. I'm going to check in with Jan. What did I miss, or what would you think I needed to suggest?
Nothing. We talk a lot about safety, so just make sure that your pet is well identified.
Yes, we have. We've microchip safety and we've collar safety, because it's really important that they know who they are. And if you travel in crates with your dogs, always have not only their identification on a card attached to the crate, but also, if you can, on the back of the card, maybe put the people who you call in the event of an emergency. Thanks, Jeremiah. Kaylina, what do you think? You put something in the chat that I have to open up to see. So you had to make a partial map when you went to Orlando. So tell us a little bit about that, Kaylina.
I didn't even, at the time, I didn't even think about it, because I had a friend puppy sitting for me. And she said, if something happens and I need to go to the vet, she needed something from me in writing stating who I was, that I owned the puppies, identifying them, that they were in her care for X amount of time, and that she had my permission to get them any and all necessary vet treatment, and that she would pay the cost and I would be reimbursing her, so they didn't have to deal with me. And then I also left her a plan just stating what she was to do with the puppies in the event something happened to me during the trip.
Fabulous. Yeah, it's, It's really smart. That was a smart caregiver who, asked you to make sure that the vet knew, God forbid something happened, that she was able to take them. And these are things that people don't really think about when they leave, they give them, maybe this is the food my dog eats, this is how many times my dog's out to the bathroom, but they really need to know who steps into your shoes if something happens to you. So thanks for sharing that, Kaylina. Susan, anything to add that I left out?
No, but I'm glad Jan mentioned about the microchipping, because I don't have Maggie microchipped, and one of my big concerns with the trainer is, could she escape, or is she going to be emotionally upset because she's with people she doesn't know, or what's going to happen, and maybe she'll do something wild or unexpected. And
well, microchips are not that difficult if you can get to your vet between now and Tuesday. Microchips are not that difficult to have inserted. Although your vet sort of is a little leery of Maggie. I would also suggest that that Maggie wear a collar with a telephone number on it, or a tag with your number on it, as well as the trainer's number, so that you make sure that she is safe and that she can be returned. And I take a lot of pictures of her before she left, just to make sure you know what she looked like when she left.
yeah, great thought. I think I can go into PetSmart and make a tag like that.
Oh, absolutely. PetSmart makes tags, and then you can put it on a collar that you can put on. So it works great, but she should absolutely have some identification on her. And if your vet can take you before she leaves to microchip her, it really isn't that intrusive. Probably for Maggie, it will be, because she's very sensitive. However, it's over in less than 10 seconds. So anyone who's ever seen puppies be microchipped, it's over in like 10 seconds. And then, you give them a treat and you tell them that it's not so bad, even though it was, it works. So you might want to check into that.
Yeah,
as well.
actually, her grooming is going to be finished on Friday because she needs to be sedated. So I have to go back again it's a different vet, but maybe they'll do it for me.
While she's sedated, that would be great, because that's 1, 2, 3. Ask them if they can microchip her, because
Yeah.
then you have that, and then you can set it up before she goes away. It's a great thing to have done.
Yeah, I think I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I think
That might
that
be a
is
great
one of
thing
my
to try.
big fears. She'll
Yep.
run off.
I know. So make sure that you ask them before she gets groomed if they can microchip her. That might be worth. Jan Sander, do you have any questions? Because I gave you a lot of information. I hate to overwhelm people.
I'm just wondering what the details of the program are. How much does it cost? How often do we meet? The nuts and bolts kind of thing.
So the workshop usually is 2 days for 2 hours. So that's 4 hours. So we go over the MAAP. And then if we need to, we do a little extra on the second day if anyone has any questions. And by the end of it, you have the MAP plan made. And Rose, I guess we haven't set up. It usually runs it's 4 hours of my time. So it usually runs about $300, which is less than an hour of my time if you hired me to do it with you. So we do it for 2 hours on like a Friday and a Saturday, so that everybody can join. And we usually do it either in the evening on a Friday after work, and then in the morning on a Saturday before you get your day started, so that everyone can join, and everything's recorded, so that if you are part of the workshop, you make sure that you can do it at your own time if you don't want to participate, or you can't participate because you work or something, the timing doesn't work. But that's usually what occurs. And of course, you get the benefit of getting all the templates. There's also a do-it-yourself on the website that you can check out as well, that you can do it on your own time, at your own time. And of course, you get time with me. If you want to set up a call with me, you can set up a call with me and we can go over it if you want to do it on your own, because it's really important to make sure. I love doing the workshop together. It's sort of like these calls, because everyone thinks of something different. And you go, oh my God, I would never have thought to put down that they're allergic to turkey. Oh my God, I would have never thought to put down that if they see a feral cat, they're off like a shot. You know, those are the things that people remember. And you actually get to talk about what's a gotta have in your plan and what's a nice to have in your plan. So it'd be great to be an only dog with an older person who's retired, who will be with your dog all day. And yet, as Jan said, Jan Jeremiah said, when she was thinking about it, her dog sitter has a melange of animals that Tonka goes to when Jan has to travel. And Jan, he's an only dog with Jan, right, Jan? He's an only dog with you, but then he goes to his caregiver and is in this fray and loves every minute. So she would have never have thought of that as being something that would be long term. But because the dog is so, I think, Jan Jeremiah, isn't that true? Tonka loves it.
I mean, he loves being there, and he loves the woman. I mean, he absolutely adores her, and he's a little discerning with people.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the fact that he loves her, you know, made all the difference for me. I mean, nobody's going to take care of him like I will.
No.
But
and that's absolutely true. So that's why when we make our plans, we have all these ideas about things that we do for our dogs. And this is something that you really want to be a part of when you decide, because it's always important where the dog, cat, bird, horse, fish is going to feel good. It might not be exactly where you want to have them go, but if they feel good there, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't say, well, I only want X, Y, and Z, because you're maybe placing your dog in a position, or your cat or your bird or your horse in a position where they can't find an owner. And often they are very resilient and they fit in. So Rose has been so nice, Jan Sander, to put the link to the do-it-yourself in the chat. So if you want to access the chat, you can, or send me an email and I'm happy to send you the link. Also, the live program will be either this first or second weekend in February. I haven't decided yet. I'm supposed to have shoulder surgery. So I'm thinking that I'm going to need to make my MAAP plan operative when I have my arm in a sling for 6 weeks, but that'll be something else. And then the last question before we go too much over the 7 o'clock is, for those of you who've been here for a while, let me know if every week is too much for this call. Would you like it the second and fourth Wednesday of the month, or would you like it once a month? Because we're trying to refresh in 2023. Rose is going to send around a sort of a survey just with the one question: would you like it to be once a month? Would you like it to be every week? Because I think we cover new and interesting things every week, but I don't want to tire people out. And I really want to start getting some people in. It'll probably expand to about 45 minutes because I've never gotten done in 30 minutes ever. But I'd really like to bring some people aboard who are trust and estate attorneys who can talk to us about what it is that's important. And maybe it would be such an important thing to do once a month so that everybody will be here on the second Wednesday of the month. Or if you all feel it's still something that is really important to do, and you're not going to hurt my feelings if you go, it really does get like crazy to be here. But I want to keep this community going. It's getting incredible traction. More people are showing up. And I really want, and more people are watching it later. I don't want to disappoint anyone. So Rose is going to send around a survey. Susan and Kaylina and Jan Jeremiah, if you want to pipe up and let me know if you think once a month, twice a month, or all 4 Wednesdays or 5 Wednesdays of a month work, just let me know. And then I will call it a night. Let me know. Well, Rose is going to send it around. So I'm going to check in at the end. What's everyone doing for the new year? So Susan, you'll still have Maggie for the new year, correct?
I will.
right.
Yeah,
All right.
but then she'll be gone for 3 weeks. So
It'll be tough, but we'll be here for you. I promise.
I may or may not be able to attend because I have a crazy January in front of me. So,
No, I understand completely. That's why I'm asking that question, because I want to make sure that these meetings are really something you look forward to and really want to be here. So
Well,
would that be?
do look forward to it, but I think cutting back to once or twice a month would be okay as well. And you wanted to make it longer?
Yeah, about
instead of
45
having to-
minutes, because I'm
Yeah.
here for 45 minutes anyway. And I'd
Right.
love to have somebody come on and talk about how to talk to your attorney or how to talk to your vet, because I espouse all this, but I'd love to have a vet to come on to talk about how to talk to your vet. I'd love to have Jan on again to bring some more of the aromatherapy information and other information that she has. So it really is things that really will enhance our abilities to care for our pets and also to make the plan for our pets. So I want to make sure I do that. Anything you want to add, Jan, Jeremiah?
No, I think twice a month would be good, would be fine. Twice or more. I think once a month is not, I don't know. I find that the community starts to break down.
Right. That's
That's-
what I'm afraid of. And that's what Rose and I were talking about. So thank you for sharing that. Kaylina, what are your thoughts if you have any?
I agree with Jan that once a month wouldn't be enough because people forget, or they're like, oh, it's just once a month. I can skip this month and I'll go next month, and you never get back in. Two to at least 2 times a month, maybe more, depending on whatever topics were being discussed. And if it's something that needs to be carried on the following week, then you can make an additional week. If you have like a lawyer or a vet or somebody coming on to talk, then perhaps it might add an extra week for that month. Just kind of play it by ear and maybe be a little flexible. Don't say, oh, it's only going to be 2 times. Just be a little flexible. It might be 3 times this month. It's bonus week or something.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm so glad you're telling me this, because I was always thinking that, it's something that people look forward to or don't look forward to. But as I said, with the open rate, it really makes me think that people do look forward to it, sort of like a podcast every week. Jan Sander, do you have any thoughts? I know this might be your first time here, but how did you like it and what do you think?
This is my first time here. Wednesdays are a problem for me, which is why this is my first time here. I'm on a school board that meets 2 Wednesdays a month, and I'm also on a planning committee for an annual antique car show that meets 1 Wednesday a month. So I don't have that many Wednesdays in my month. So this week, being the week between Christmas and New Year's, is open. Plus, I just got out of 5 days in the hospital, and I
Oh my
can't do
God.
anything anyway. So I thought, oh, I'll check this out tonight and see how it is.
Well, I hope that you found it to be helpful and useful. And we will be here as we always are. So that 1 Wednesday a month, if you have nothing to do, you could always join us. And we hope to see you again. And I do it Wednesdays because that's usually the hump day. So people are able to get here. So I'm hoping that maybe we will make sure that we make it one of the Wednesdays that you are available. Until next week, I want to wish everyone a really, really happy, healthy, safe New Year. Make sure that you take really good care of your babies, because sometimes there are fireworks that happen on New Year's. And of course, those noisemakers, not fun for the dogs or the cats or the birds or even the horses. Give them all a kiss for me. Give Tonka a kiss for me. Give your dog and your cat, Jan Sanders, a kiss for me. I didn't get their names. Shame on me. You'll have to unmute yourself and tell me. Kaylina, give the beagle puppies kisses for me. Jen, what are the dog and cat's name?
Dog is Shay.
Oh,
and
great.
Sadie.
And Kitty?
Sadie.
Sadie.
Sadie. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, give Sadie and Shay a kiss for me. And Susan, I'll be looking for that contract, and I'll give you some information that I think you should follow up on. But
I
give Maggie a
appreciate it.
kiss for me. And until next year, I can't believe it. All of you stay safe, stay warm if you're in the cold weather. I know Jan Sander is really in the deep throes of the snow, I think. The rest of us, not so much. But everyone take good care, and Happy New Year. And until next time, this is Debra Hamilton. This is the MAAP Community Call, and I'm so glad all of you are here. Happy New Year.